After this video, there should not be another Christian that ever criticizes the Prophet Muhammad or the religion of Islam. And I say this as a Christian myself. It's always going right into criticism of the Prophet Muhammad's marriage to Aisha. Just like this comment that says she was literally playing with toys and she isn't 9, Sahih al-Bukhari is one of the most trusted and authentic hadiths. Anyone who knows anything about the Quran knows that it literally starts out by calling out the people of the book, which in layman's terms is the literalist. Perfect example being Christians today who read ancient texts and then try to basically make it fit for their narrative for this time period. Anyone who actually practices Islam knows that anything outside of the Quran should never be placed before the Quran. Therefore, the hadiths being compiled 200 years after the Prophet Muhammad makes them outside of the Quran by default, thus making it subjective truth. And the newest manuscripts that we have of those hadith only date back to about 1000 AD. There are many scholars who agree with what I'm about to say, also the renowned theologian known as Dr. Maulana, where he says the Quran is absolutely authentic while even the best hadith literature is only relatively authentic, namely authentic only in a qualified manner. It is the function of the Quran to sit in judgment over the hadith and not vice versa. And there is plenty more scholarship on this exact subject just like this that is titled The Age of Aisha, the Truthful Woman, may Allah send his greetings. As in the Quran, the word woman itself is explicitly detailed what a woman actually is. And Aisha being 6 to 9 years old completely contradicts the Quran, which makes absolutely no sense. It's also historically documented that Asma, the sister of Aisha, was 10 years older than Aisha, which Asma passed away in 73 or 74 AH, thus making her 28 when she migrated to Medina, which means that Aisha was 18 when she migrated to Medina, which alone proves that Aisha was between the ages of 19 to 21 when she consummated her marriage with the Prophet. Not to mention Muhammad already had children, who were between the ages of 6 and 9. Muhammad came across a woman known as Kala who suggested that he get a second wife to help take care of his children, which she suggested Sauda and Aisha. It logically doesn't make sense for someone to recommend a 6-year-old to take care of another 6-year-old, nonetheless a 9-year-old. Not to mention Aisha was engaged beforehand, which this engagement was 8 to 9 years before the Hijrah to Medina. So if taking the hadith of Aisha being 9 years of age in Medina when she moved in with the Prophet, then she wasn't even born when she was engaged to Jabbar bin Mutam. And in this hadith, Aisha clearly states that she was of age whenever her parents became Muslim, which her parents became Muslim very early around the time the Prophet proclaimed his prophethood, so she was born before the start of the revelation. And she was at least 12 when Sayyidina Abu Bakr thought of migrating to Abyssinia, which again would make her of age when she consummated her marriage with the Prophet. The only reason that these hadiths were accepted was because of the people of that time period, which was long after Muhammad was actually here. Because child marriage was common in the Indian, Persian, Arab, Roman, and Greek cultures, and that women essentially had no honor and integrity in society. Their consent was not deemed important, much less necessary. So a father could even get his unborn girl married off to a man, because the girl had no right to exercise her own consent, which blatantly contradicts the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad, which the Quran was revealed in order to put an end to this culture. And as it's stated here again, anyone who puts the hadith over the Quran and runs to the hadith first before the Quran is simply disrespecting the Quran. And yes, I'm aware that there's Muslims that basically try to defend the hadith, but it doesn't matter because the proof doesn't add up. And all it does is add fuel to the fire of Christian culture online and going around basically on an internet crusade. And it's mostly Christians, especially on this app, that are criticizing Islam, the Quran, and Muhammad. So I feel it is my responsibility as a Christian myself to tell y'all to back off. Because the same people who don't know a lick about their own Bible are criticizing the Quran, which they've never opened a page of in their life. And the only reason why you've been conditioned to not read into it is because the people that rule your religion are terrified that you're going to see the truth that's actually in the Quran. I'm actually reading it for myself as well as studying all the scholarship and the history behind it, and I haven't found one thing that I disagree with yet. But that's why I'm a Christian Gnostic on the pursuit of gnosis, which is knowledge, which is truth. And no matter what, I will always defend truth. So mote it be.